Let me tell you something that most people forget the moment they leave childhood. You were designed for more. You weren't born to play it safe. You weren't put here to blend in. You came into this world with potential carved into your very soul. You were born in power, not in passivity. Look at a child, fearless, curious, relentless. They don't worry about opinions, about failing, about judgment. That spirit you had back then, it's still inside you. But somewhere along the way, the world conditioned you. It told you to slow down, to quiet down, to calm down. It told you to be realistic, to be reasonable. That was the beginning of a lie, because realistic is a cage. Reasonable is average wearing a suit. And the truth, you were not made to be average. You were not built to survive. You were engineered to thrive. Every fiber of your being is capable of growth, of reinvention, of breakthrough. Your mind is not fixed. Your heart is not small. Your soul is not silent. You have dreams inside you that won't let go, visions that show up when the world gets quiet. That's not fantasy. That's your design calling to you. That's greatness whispering, wake up. Remember who you are. But most people, they hit snooze. They choose comfort over calling. They trade purpose for approval. And in that trade, they shrink. They become smaller than they were ever meant to be. They numb the hunger, distract the discomfort, and pretend the fire doesn't still burn. But you know it does. Deep inside you, there's something that refuses to settle. There's a voice that says, there's more. More than this routine. More than this job you tolerate. More than the way you've been living. That's not your ego speaking. That's your destiny knocking. It's the part of you that remembers the truth you were created in possibility. You were born with capacity beyond measure. You were designed by greatness for greatness. Think about it. Look at history. The people who changed the world were not the most talented. They were not the luckiest. They were the ones who refused to accept limits. They saw the same walls everyone else saw and chose to break through them. They didn't have a map. They had a mission. And when you live from mission, you don't wait. You create. You don't complain. You commit. You don't beg for certainty. Lead with it. That's who you are. Not someday. Not maybe. Not if everything lines up. Right now. The potential isn't coming later. It's not in the perfect conditions or the perfect timing. It's already in you. You don't need to go find it. You need to stop burying it, because every time you doubt yourself, you put another layer of dust over your fire. Every time you say, maybe next year, you lose a piece of momentum. Every time you listen to fear instead of faith, you step 1 inch further from the life that's waiting for you. And let's be real, deep down, you know what you need to do. You've known for a long time. It's not about information, it's about ignition. The switch needs to flip. You've been gathering wood long enough. It's time to strike the match. There's a version of you that doesn't hesitate. A version of you that doesn't apologize for wanting more. A version that walks into every room with conviction because they remember, I was designed for more. That version doesn't need approval. That version doesn't fold under pressure. That version knows that fear is just the threshold of growth. But you'll never meet that version if you keep playing small. If you keep dimming your light so others feel comfortable. If you keep living like you have 1,000 years left. You don't. And that's not something to fear. It's something to fuel you. You don't have time to wait for the perfect plan. You don't need permission to start. You were born with the one thing every legend, every leader, every game changer had a decision. The decision to say enough. Enough playing it safe. Enough blaming the past. Enough believing the lies. You were not born to just exist. You were born to expand, to create, to contribute, to leave your fingerprint on this world in a way no one else ever could. That's not just motivation, it's biology. Your brain is wired to grow. Your spirit is wired to lead. Your heart is wired to connect to something bigger than survival. Stop waiting to feel ready. Start choosing to be relentless. Stop seeking validation. Start chasing transformation. Because the life you want, the one that excites you and terrifies you at the same time, it's real, it's possible, and it's waiting for the version of you that's willing to rise. To step into the fire and say, I'm done pretending. I'm done shrinking. I was designed for more. Let's call it out. The lie that's killing more dreams than failure ever could. The lie that whispers in your ear when you start to rise, when you begin to stretch, when you reach for something greater. The lie says, hey, this is good enough. That phrase, good enough, sounds harmless, doesn't it? It sounds like peace. It sounds like contentment. But let's not sugarcoat it. Good enough is poison wrapped in comfort. It's the language of mediocrity. It's the slow death of greatness. And worst of all, it's convincing. Because good enough doesn't show up waving a red flag. It shows up as gratitude taken out of context. It disguises itself as maturity, as being realistic, but here's the truth most people never say out loud: gratitude and hunger can live in the same house. You can be grateful for what you have while still refusing to settle for less than what you're capable of becoming. But the moment you start believing that good enough is all you get, all you're worth, all you'll ever be, you stop evolving, you stop chasing, you stop creating, you hit pause on your potential. And that pause becomes your new normal. That pause becomes your life. Let me ask you something hard. Where in your life have you accepted good enough as the ceiling? Maybe it's your body, you're not where you want to be, but hey, it's good enough. Maybe it's your career. You're not fulfilled, but the paycheck shows up, and that's good enough. Maybe it's your relationship. The fire's gone, the connection faded, but you tell yourself, if it could be worse, this is good enough. That phrase should haunt you, because every time you say it, you're building a wall between who you are and who you're meant to be. And here's the kicker, your soul knows it. You can fake it on the outside, you can smile and pretend everything's okay, but inside there's a war going on. Because something inside you is screaming, this isn't all. There's more, and you keep silencing that voice, numbing it with distractions, with scrolling, with food, with work, with business, just to avoid facing the truth. Good enough is killing your greatness. Let's get this straight. You weren't born to settle. You weren't born to fit in a box someone else built. You weren't meant to just get by, to coast. Make it through. That's survival mode, and survival is for those who forgot they were born to lead. Look around. This world doesn't need more people who are comfortable. It needs people who are awake, people who are driven, people who are on fire with purpose and won't apologize for wanting more. Now hear this, wanting more doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you alive. It means you still got that edge, that hunger, that fire. And yes, the moment you start reaching higher, the resistance shows up, the critics show up, the inner voice that says, who do you think you are, shows up. But guess what? That resistance is a compass. That fear is feedback. It means you're on the edge of growth. You're stepping outside the box of good enough, and your nervous system is trying to pull you back into the familiar. But you have a choice. You can listen to the fear, the self-doubt, the stories that were passed down to you, or you can challenge them. You can rip off the labels, break the patterns, and rise. Because good enough might be the standard for average, but you are not average. You never were. That restless energy inside you, the discontent, the frustration, it's not a problem. It's a message. It's life trying to remind you that you've got more in the tank. Think about what you used to dream about. Think about the vision you had before you let the world talk you into shrinking. That version of you didn't settle. That version didn't put a ceiling on their ambition. That version believed, even when there was no evidence, no support, no roadmap, that version was alive. You owe it to yourself to go back to that place, not because it's easy, but because it's who you really are. You've got one shot at this life. One run. And time doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your comfort zone. The clock keeps ticking whether you play full out or play small. So ask yourself, is good enough really good enough for the kind of life you want to look back on? Or is it just a clever disguise for fear, for playing it safe, for avoiding the responsibility of stepping into the full magnitude of your power? You were not put here to settle for crumbs when you were born to feast. You weren't built to live in neutral. You've got gears you haven't even tapped into yet. Power you haven't even accessed. Passion that's been waiting for permission to explode. But none of that gets activated as long as you're worshiping the idol of good enough. It's time to wake up, to shake off the dust, to look that lie in the face and say, I'm done pretending this is all there is. Everything starts in the mind. Everything. Before the action, before the habit, before the result, there's a thought. One single thought can be the difference between breakthrough and breakdown. One belief can launch you into the stratosphere or chain you to the floor. You want to change your life? You want to elevate, to dominate, to evolve? You've got to go straight to the source. Because your mind is the gateway to your power, and until you learn how to master it, it will master you. Most people are walking around with a mind that controls them instead of a mind they control. They're on autopilot, reacting, doubting, playing out old programs that were installed years ago by someone else, parents, teachers, culture, failure, trauma. Their operating system is outdated, corrupted by fear, infected by insecurity, running on stories that never belonged to them in the first place, and they wonder why they feel stuck, why they sabotage themselves, why they hit the same wall again and again. It's not because they aren't capable. It's because they're living inside a prison they don't even realize they built. But here's the truth. Your mind is not your enemy. It's your instrument. When you train it, direct it, command it with intention, it becomes the most powerful tool you will ever possess. Every champion, every leader, every world shaker, before they achieved anything in the world, they had to conquer what was going on between their ears. They had to win the mental game. They had to rewrite the narrative, because your thoughts become your emotions. Your emotions drive your actions create your results. So if you're not getting what you want out of life, don't just look at your behavior. Don't just try harder. Look deeper. Ask, what's the story I've been telling myself? What's the identity I've been clinging to? What am I rehearsing in my head every single day? That voice inside, it matters. That internal dialogue, it's either building you or breaking you. There is no neutral. It's either lifting you up or locking you down. Most people are experts at talking themselves out of greatness. I'm not ready. I've never done this before. What if I fail? But where did those voices come from? Were you born with that fear? Or did someone hand it to you? At some point, you accepted those limits as truth. But a belief is just a repeated thought. You've thought it so many times, it feels real. It feels permanent. But guess what? What you created in your mind, you can recreate in your mind. You can challenge it. You can replace it. You can rewire it. The human brain is not fixed. It's adaptable. Neuroplasticity means you can literally change the structure of your brain through repetition, focus, and emotion. That's not inspiration. That's science. Every time you choose courage over comfort, discipline over distraction, faith over fear, you're carving new pathways. You're building a new mental blueprint. You're creating a mind that works for you instead of against you. But this doesn't happen by accident. You've got to take control of what you feed your mind. You've got to guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. What are you consuming every day? What are you watching, listening to, reading, thinking about? Garbage in, garbage out. Power in, power out. You can't fill your mind with negativity, drama, excuses, and expect to live with fire and focus. You've got to program it like a warrior, with vision, with clarity, with truth. Start choosing thoughts that empower you, thoughts that stretch you, thoughts that align with the version of you that you're becoming, not the version you're trying to outgrow. Stop letting your past dictate your identity. Your past is a classroom, not a prison. You don't live there anymore. Your identity isn't set in stone. It's a choice. It's a commitment. It's what you decide to believe about yourself over and over again until it becomes your new default setting. You want power. Stop waiting for permission. Claim your mind. Conditioning. Command it. When your mind is aligned, your body follows, your energy shifts, your results explode. But when your mind is scattered, negative, fearful, you could have all the talent in the world and still lose the game. You've got to become the architect of your thoughts, the gatekeeper of your beliefs. You've got to catch the lies before they take root. You've got to declare, that thought doesn't serve me. That belief is beneath me. That fear is false. This is war. And the battlefield is within. But so is the victory. So is the fire. So is the power. Everything you need is already there, waiting behind the noise, behind the programming, behind the fear. You don't need a new life. You need a new lens. You don't need to be someone else. You need to remember who you really are when your mind is fully aligned with your mission. Because when your mind is clear, focused, and fierce, there is no limit to what you can become, no ceiling to what you can build, no boundary to the power you can unleash. Pain, that word alone makes most people flinch. It's the thing we run from, hide from, medicate, avoid at all costs. We're taught that pain is a problem, that if we're hurting, something must be wrong, that if it's uncomfortable, it's bad. But that is one of the most dangerous lies you'll ever believe, because the truth, pain is not the problem. Pain is the path to growth, the path to transformation, the path to power. Nothing meaningful is born without struggle. Nothing worth having comes without sacrifice. Pain is not your enemy, it's the gatekeeper of your evolution. Every version of you that you've admired, every future you're hungry for, lives on the other side of pain you haven't yet been willing to face. Think about your own life. The moments that shaped you most, were they the easy ones? The ones where everything worked out? No. It was the ones that broke you. The heartbreak, the failure, the loss, the betrayal, the breakdowns that brought you to your knees. And even in those moments, something inside you wouldn't die. Something deeper got activated. A part of you woke up that you didn't even know was there. That's not coincidence. That's pain doing its job. Pain is a teacher. It shows up to reveal, to strip away what no longer serves you, to burn off the illusion so you can see clearly again. It's not there to punish you. It's there to prepare you. But only if you're willing to sit with it, to learn from it, to walk through it instead of running from it. Because avoidance is easy, but it's expensive. What you avoid now will cost you later. What you numb, what you suppress, what you bury deep doesn't go away. It festers, it multiplies, and it starts controlling your decisions in ways you can't even see. There's a reason growth hurts. There's a reason people stay stuck, because comfort is addictive. But comfort doesn't change lives. Pain wakes you up. Pain strips the ego. Pain makes things real. You can lie to yourself when everything's fine. You can wear a mask when it's convenient. But when pain hits, you meet the real you, the unfiltered you, the one with no excuses left. And that is where the shift begins. You see, every time you choose to step into the pain instead of avoid it, you build strength. Every time you face the fear, the insecurity, the wound, you claim more power. The pain becomes fuel. The wound becomes wisdom. The failure becomes foundation. But only if you keep walking. Only if you don't freeze, don't numb, don't run. You've got to lean in. You've got to embrace the fire, not fear it. Because the fire doesn't destroy you, it forges you. You can't grow without resistance. You can't expand without pressure. Diamonds are formed under crushing weight. Muscles only grow after the pain of breaking down. You want to build mental toughness. You want to become unshakable. Then stop looking for the easy way. Stop praying for less pain and start preparing for more resilience. The pain isn't what's holding you back. It's your relationship with it. Most people see pain as a stop sign. You've got to see it as a signal. It's not saying quit. It's saying pay attention. It's saying dig deeper. It's saying there's something here you're meant to learn, because once you understand that pain is purpose, it loses its power to paralyze you. Suddenly, you're not the victim of it, you're the student of it. And once you've learned, once you've mined the lesson from the struggle, no one can take that from you. That becomes part of your strength. That becomes part of your edge. And that's how you lead. That's how you inspire. Not by pretending everything's perfect, but by owning the scars, the falls, the climbs. That's what makes you real. That's what makes you powerful. Every level of your life will demand a stronger version of you. And that version isn't built through ease. It's built through effort, through endurance, through those moments when everything in you wants to quit, but you don't. You dig, you fight, you rise. And every time you do, you become more dangerous, not to others, but every limit that ever tried to cage you. So if you're in pain right now, good, that means you're in the process. That means something in you is growing, shifting, preparing to level up. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this waking up in me? Because pain always carries a message. Pain always invites a decision. Will you shrink or will you step up? Will you break down or will you break through? Will you curse it or will you use it? Because once you realize pain isn't the end, it's the beginning, everything changes. Destiny doesn't respond to dreams. It responds to discipline. You can have all the vision in the world, all the passion, all the talent, but if your habits don't back it up, your future stays locked behind a door you'll never open. Because it's not what you do once that defines you, it's what you do daily. Your destiny isn't determined in a single moment, it's shaped in thousands of quiet, unseen decisions that stack up over time. Decisions that either build you or break you. People love to talk about motivation, about ambition, about setting goals at the beginning of the year. But goals are just wishes without the habits to support them. You want to see where your life is headed? Don't look at your vision board. Don't read your mission statement. Look at your habits. What are you doing when no one's watching? What are you consistently committed to when it's not exciting, when it's boring, when it's hard? Your habits are your autopilot. Once they're locked in, they run the show. You don't have to think about brushing your teeth in the morning. You just do it. That's how deeply wired behavior works. So the question is, what else is wired in? What are you rehearsing daily that's either empowering you or destroying your momentum? Because every habit you have is either moving you closer to your greatness or pulling you further from it. There is no neutral. There is no if it doesn't matter. It all matters. Every choice, every action, every routine. It all compounds. You see someone successful and think they're lucky. No, they're consistent. You see someone ripped and think it's genetics. No. They show up when they don't feel like it. You see someone confident and assume they've always been that way. No, they've built it brick by brick through daily repetition. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. The grind isn't glamorous, but habits are the architecture of transformation. The body you want, the business you dream about, the confidence you crave, the relationship you admire, it's all built on consistent behaviors done when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when it's easier to quit. The problem is we live in a world that worships quick fixes. Everyone wants the shortcut, the secret, the hack. But there are no hacks for mastery, no shortcuts to legacy. You can't microwave your purpose. You want to change your life. Change what you do repeatedly. Change what you do when you wake up. Change what you do when you're tired. Because the small things, repeated over time, become the big things. They become who you are. You can't rise above your habits. You will always return to your level of training. That's why pressure doesn't create character. It reveals it. When life hits, when adversity shows up, when the storm comes, you don't become someone new. You become who you've practiced being. If your habit is to fold when it's uncomfortable, you'll crumble under pressure. If your habit is to push through, to stay focused, to do the work, then you'll rise while everyone else is retreating. And here's the truth. Bad habits are easy. They're seductive. They feel good in the moment. Scrolling endlessly, skipping the workout, sleeping and gossiping, procrastinating, it all gives you a hit of dopamine. But it robs your future. It steals your fire. And worse, it reinforces an identity of someone who doesn't follow through. The cost of bad habits isn't just wasted time. It's wasted potential. It's identity erosion. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you're telling your subconscious, I can't be trusted, and that self-doubt grows like a weed. But the good news, you can flip the script starting right now. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. Build one new habit, stack one small win, keep a promise to yourself, even when it doesn't look like it matters, because it does. That one win becomes a seed, and if you water it with repetition, it grows into unshakable confidence. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. One brick at a time, one rep and day at a time. You want a powerful life. Build powerful habits. You want an uncommon destiny. Cultivate uncommon discipline. Wake up with purpose, move with intention, train like your future depends on it, because it does. Your habits will take you where motivation can't. When the excitement fades, when no one is watching, when the hype is gone, what remains is the structure you've built. And that structure is what carries you to the life you were meant to live. Not luck, not chance, not someone else's approval. Just the daily choices, the rituals, the behaviors you decide to repeat until they become who you are, until they become your default setting, until they become your destiny. There's a voice inside your head that doesn't want you to win. You know it. That voice that shows up the moment you try to rise, the second you step out of your comfort zone. It whispers, "Foe, do you think you are?" It shouts, "You're not good enough." It reminds you of every failure, every flaw, every time you fell short. That voice is your inner critic, and it's been running the show for far too long. The inner critic is sneaky. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it disguises itself as logic or humility or safety. Don't take that risk. Play it safe and not speak up. You might embarrass yourself. And before you even realize it, you're shrinking. You're doubting. You're retreating into a life that's smaller than what you're capable of living. That critic builds walls around your potential and convinces you it's for your own good. But here's what you need to know: that voice is not you. It's a program. It's a broken record made up of every moment you were told you weren't enough. It's every rejection, every disappointment, every time you internalized someone else's opinion as truth. That voice didn't start with you. It was handed to you. And the moment you start questioning it, the moment you stop believing everything it says, is the moment you take your power back. Because you've got another voice inside you too. One that's just as real, but way too quiet. That voice is your inner champion. The one that says, you were built for more. The one that knows your worth even when you doubt it. The one that's been silenced by years of self-judgment. But it's still there, waiting for you to turn up the volume. That voice is your truth. That voice is your power. And you've got to learn how to amplify it until it drowns out the critic completely. This isn't about positive thinking or fake hype. It's about reclaiming control of the conversation inside your own head. Because the quality of your life will never rise above the quality of that internal dialogue. What you say to yourself in the quiet moments, when nobody's looking, when the lights are off, when it's just you with your thoughts, that's what determines who you become. Not the external world, not your job title, not your bank account. Your identity is shaped in that internal war, and you better start winning it. Every time you let the inner critic win, you reinforce a version of yourself that's built on fear. And fear is loud. It's dramatic. It loves attention. But your inner champion, it's calm, it's steady. It doesn't beg to be heard. It waits to be summoned. And when you choose to listen to it, when you feed it with action, repetition, it becomes your new default. You silence the critic not by arguing with it, but by starving it, by refusing to give it your energy, by choosing to act in spite of it. You amplify the champion by doing the work, showing up anyway, but proving to yourself that you are not your thoughts, you are what you do with them. Because confidence is not built by thinking, it's built by stacking evidence. Evidence that you show up. Evidence that you follow through. Evidence that you don't quit when it gets hard. You've got to train that inner voice like a muscle every day. Repetition is everything. When the critic says, you can't, you respond with, watch me. When it says, you're not ready, you say, I'll learn on the way. When it says, you always fail, you remind yourself that failure is part of the process, and champions use it as fuel. You talk back, you reframe, you rewire. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to stop betraying who you already are. You were not born with a critic, you were born with courage. You were born with a fire. And it's still in there, underneath the doubt, underneath the conditioning, underneath the noise. The work is to strip away the layers and let that champion breathe again. Let it speak, let it lead. That voice knows what you're capable of. That voice knows what's possible. But you gotta give it the mic. This is the fight of your life. And it happens every day. In the mirror, on the treadmill, at the desk, in your relationships, when you're tired, when you feel like quitting, when no one else is watching. That's when the critic tries to take over. And that's when you've got to make the choice. Will I give in to fear, or will I rise with faith? Will I listen to the voice that keeps me small, or will I align with the voice that's pulling me toward greatness? Because once you decide, once you shift the balance and start letting the inner champion lead, everything changes. We live in a world obsessed with approval, a world where validation has been reduced to a number. How many followers? How many likes? How many views? And every single day, people are trading their purpose for popularity, their integrity for attention, their voice for applause. But the truth is, like spade, legacy doesn't. One scratches the surface, the other carves into history. You weren't put on this earth to impress strangers. You weren't born to chase trends. You're not here to be palatable or popular. You're here to make impact. You're here to do something that echoes beyond your name. And that kind of power doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being real, from doing the work, from standing for something even when it's not celebrated, especially when it's not celebrated. Legacy isn't built in the spotlight. It's built in silence. It's built in those early mornings when no one sees you grinding. It's built in the hard conversations, in the discipline, in the sacrifice. Legacy is built when you choose to do what's right, not what's easy. When you stand tall in a world full of noise and say, won't sell out, I won't water myself down, won't pretend to be something I'm not to win your approval. That's where it starts. Because likes are cheap, they're empty, they don't demand anything of you. All they require is that you conform, that you perform, that you entertain. But legacy requires courage. Legacy requires clarity. Legacy demands that you live your truth even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you, because it will. Real legacy always comes with a price. The problem is, we've raised a generation to believe that visibility is the same as value. That being known is the same as being impactful. But there are people with millions of eyes on them and nothing behind it. No substance, no weight, no roots, just smoke and mirrors. Attention doesn't equal contribution. Noise doesn't equal leadership. You've got to decide, do you want to be remembered or just noticed? There's a difference between being liked and being respected. A difference between fame and influence. You don't have to be viral to be valuable. You don't need to trend to leave a mark. In fact, the people who leave the deepest legacy often go unrecognized in their time. They're not chasing the algorithm. They're chasing alignment. They're not performing for the crowd. They're showing up for the mission. And that mission drives everything. You've got to ask yourself, what are you really here to do? Who are you trying to impress? What's going to matter when the noise stops? Because one day the followers will stop growing. The likes will stop coming. The buzz will fade. And all that will be left is who you became, how you showed up, and what you built with the time you were given. Legacy isn't a moment. It's not one viral post or one big speech or one powerful product. Legacy is repetition. It's how you treat people every day. It's how you carry yourself when no one is watching. It's how consistent you are with your character, your values, your vision. Legacy is the story they tell about you when you're no longer in the room. Legacy is the ripple you leave long after you're gone. And here's the raw truth, not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to understand your mission. Some people are going to criticize you, misjudge you, try to cancel you. But that's not your job to manage. Your job is to stay rooted, to keep building, to keep showing up with excellence and authenticity. Because the people who matter, the ones you're meant to impact, they don't need a performance from you. They need the real you. There's freedom in choosing legacy over likes. It frees you from the pressure to please. It frees you from the constant chase of validation. It allows you to focus on what actually matters: impact, growth, truth, contribution. Because in the end, it's not about how many people clap for you. It's about how many lives you changed. Not how loud the applause was, but how deep the effect was. This world doesn't need more influencers. It needs more leaders. It needs people who are bold enough to think long term. People who care more about significance than attention. People who are willing to do what's right instead of what's easy. That's legacy. That's power. That's real success. Don't get caught up in the moment. Build for the future. Don't chase attention. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be legendary. You're here to leave something behind that can't be erased by trends, can't be measured by metrics, can't be swayed by opinion. That's legacy, and it's forged in every decision you make today throughout this journey. Remember that greatness is not an accident, it's a choice. It's choosing the path less traveled, leaning into discomfort, rewiring your mind, building habits that serve your highest self, silencing doubt, and focusing on what truly matters beyond fleeting approval. Your life is shaped by the stories you tell yourself and the actions you take every single day. Embrace your pain as fuel, trust your inner champion to lead, and commit to building a legacy that lasts far beyond any momentary likes or applause. Now is the time to rise, to claim your power, and to live with purpose and passion. The world is waiting for your greatness. Thank you for showing up and stepping into your true potential.